Hello. Welcome back to the Feel Good Factor. I'm Susmita Veganosaurus, and I'm so glad you could join me here today. Hi. Tonight is the full moon. And if we go by the moon calendar, then it's the last full moon of the year because the new moon in a couple of weeks now. The day after that is the beginning of the new calendar year for the moon cycle. So that's Ugadi here in our local area, and Ugadi is a new year celebration for us. So the full moon and the new moon energies are very powerful. They do impact us in ways that we may not really realize when we are living our day-to-day lives. It doesn't mean that we have to be at the mercy of these energies, but if we tune ourselves to the energy of the moon and then move in alignment with this energy and plan things accordingly and do things accordingly, then things flow a lot more beautifully for us. So a full moon cycle, that is starting at the full moon, and then as the moon wanes and wanes and wanes for 2 weeks approximately until it reaches the new moon phase, that cycle is very helpful for us to clear out unwanted, unnecessary things in our lives. It could be habits, it could be energy, it could be physically getting rid of stuff, whatever it is, but it helps to clear things out. As the moon wanes, then, as it reduces, so do the things that we want to get rid of. It flushes it out of our lives. It helps us do that. But there are so many things to get rid of, right? There's so many unwanted habits and thoughts and patterns. Oh gosh, so much that we have in our lives. So how do you know what to get rid of? I feel like if we pick one thing for every moon cycle and then use that to set the intention to get rid of it, and then do something else for the next cycle, dealing with one thing at a time, one area at a time, I feel like we can do it, it'll seem easier, doable. It gives something to look forward to every month, with the full moon. So keeps things very organized and easy. So this time I was thinking, why don't we focus on consumption? Consumption is an important area where, it's always helpful to reset our habits in this area. We live in a world where all of us overconsume. And yes, food, yes, but I don't mean just food. There's so much that we are buying, we are hoarding, and the sneakiest one of all, which is more harmful than even overly consuming food, is consuming information. Every single day, the amount of time we spend on our screens just consuming things, it's crazy, it's scary. And this wasn't the case before, right? Before smartphones and maybe even before the net, the amount of consumption was a lot more limited. We would read books, maybe listen to radio, watch some TV, stuff like that, but we wouldn't constantly be consuming things the way we do now. Now, knowledge is important, yes. It's good to know stuff, yeah. But how much do you really need to know? Honestly, ask yourself that question. Somehow, this thing of knowing every single thing, what's happening in the world, all the details about the politics and the wars and everything, even the good stuff or the bad stuff doesn't matter. Somehow it's associated with being wise or smart or successful. That's not the case at all. In fact, it's the other way around. Wisdom is only consuming what truly has bearing on your life, what is important. And when I say bearing on your life, I don't mean just ignore other people's pain and all the difficult stuff that's happening, and then just think of your own self. I don't mean that at all. But where is it that you can actually make an impact, make a difference? What is your life's purpose? What are you bringing to the world to uplift the world, to make things better in the world? Whether it's through your work or through your personal life, through your hobbies, whatever. Where are you making a difference? Where are you able to make a difference? Consume things related to that. Don't consume every other thing that's happening. Fine, there's a war happening there's always a war happening, unfortunately, in some part of the world or the other, right? Even if not war between humans, which anyway happens, also the war against nature that humans cause every single day, or the war against the millions and millions of other living beings, like animals and birds and fish and everything. Every single day something's happening. But what's the point of consuming that information about that stuff and just steeping yourself in that? It's important to realize that we don't need to know every single thing. There's a limit. On a surface level, fine. Find out what you need to find out. Find out what's happening in the world. But you don't have to go so deep into it. Doom scrolling, news, going and hunting for things that are wrong with the world and then feeling bad about it and feeling angry and sad about it. You're not helping anyone by constantly steeping yourself in that information. When you cut out the unnecessary consumption of things that aren't required, then what's required will come to you. Things that are going to be useful for your own journey and to make the lives that you touch better, to uplift people around you. But if you keep consuming all the unnecessary stuff, then what's important gets drowned out. What is needed gets drowned out. And I don't mean just the bad stuff. Like I said, even good stuff. There's so much happening all the time. So much on social media, on news channels, on just generally on the internet, on forums. There's so much happening. There's so much happening around us in the real world too, not just the online world. Really, do you need to know everything? How much do you need to know? So, if we stop stuffing information into our brain because we feel that's what's making us smarter, we give ourselves pause. We give our brain some gap to stop, to think, to be a little still. Stillness is so important. So we need to be very discerning, very picky, and very limiting about how much information we allow to flow into our lives, into our brains, because that's going to directly impact our mental state, our emotional state, and of course that's going to impact your other consumption habits, your food habits, your buying habits, because you're trying to fill that, to cover up that sadness or that overwhelm of so much information by purchasing things or eating things that are not good for you. Things like that. We all these habits are kind of connected with each other. So when you make a difference, when you make, set limits and boundaries into what you're going to allow to funnel into your head, then what happens is, and it has to be a reverse funnel. So, where it enters is tiny, and then when it comes to you, it spreads out and comes, so that it isn't occupying every moment of your everyday, your mind all the time. So when we limit our media consumption drastically, particularly cutting out the bad, but also being discerning about the good, being picky about the good stuff too. When you limit that consumption, then we also reduce our thoughts. And that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So the less we consume, the less information we imbibe, the lesser these running thoughts that we have, and that gives space for the meaningful thoughts to float and flow. It's not so scary to sit in silence anymore. It takes time, but once you do that, it's not going to be so scary anymore. So then, once you do that, then the rest of your life gets impacted in very positive, meaningful ways. So this full moon cycle, sit down, spend some time tonight thinking about what you want to let go of in terms of consumption, what information is bombarding your life, and how you can cut it off or drastically reduce it. And set that intention today and surrender it to the full moon, and allow it to help you wash away the unnecessary habits, the unnecessary energies of consumption away from you. If you'd like help with this process, then on this very podcast, I have 2 full moon meditations. Episode number 67 and episode number 70, both of them are full moon meditations that will help you get started on this process. So tonight would be a great time to do them, but even if not tonight, if you miss this, if you're not listening to this, the podcast right away, it's okay. You can still do it any time in the next few days, in this whole week, or any of the, if you're listening to this way forward in the future, then any time after the full moon, that cycle of the waning moon cycle, in that process, in the beginning of that process, the first few days or a week of it, do it at that time. So episode 67 and 70, make sure to check those out. Episode 67 is a full moon meditation for cleansing and intention setting, and episode 70 is about how it's safe to be loving and kind, to release all the blocks that we keep, stop us from being vulnerable and kind and all that. And if you'd like to be a little more woo-woo, I have one episode, that is episode number 61, which is about in which I cover 5 simple and powerful full moon rituals. These simple things that you can do, which again help you align yourself and make full use of the full moon energy. So see how you can, you could listen to that episode 61 and see how you can put that into your life. If you like being entertained, if you like humor, if you like secret stories that aren't shared anywhere else, and if you would like guidance and tips on business and being a vegan and spirituality and so many more things, then if you're not on my newsletter, the Feel Good Tribe, what are you waiting for? Get on right now. Go to veganosaurus.com/newsletter. The link is in the show notes, and sign up. I'd love to see you on the Feel Good Tribe. And if you've been enjoying this podcast, then you're truly going to enjoy the newsletter, the Feel Good Tribe. All right, that's it for today. Talk to you again next week. Take care. Have a lovely full moon, waning moon cycle, letting go of things that don't serve you anymore. Bye.